What's good, YouTube? If you tapped in, you already know who I am. If not, my name is Caleb Jarrell, and don't get me misconstrued or get what I say misconstrued or anything. We all go through hard times. We all go through times where, we may not be right where we want to be at. We may not have the finances we want to have. We may not be in the circumstances, situation, or even the environment that we want to be in at the moment. But what you have to start doing is you got to think big, bro. You got to start thinking big. You got to start thinking bigger than where you are in life right now. You got to start thinking big on a different level. And I'm not just talking about exterior things or external things. I'm talking about just big as far as being who you are. As far as being a better person, being a bigger person. Being the best version of yourself. You feel me? Sometimes we do need external things or materialistic things to motivate us to get to a certain point. But sometimes you can't let that be the main motive. You can't let that be the main thing that you're striving after. You start to recognize that the sooner you start working on yourself and bettering yourself and improving your insides and improving the inside of you and not just the outside things, you start to improve in life. You start to see things improve for your life or in your life. You start to see other people be inspired from you. You start to see that you start accomplishing things. You start to see that you're more confident. You start to feel a little bit better about yourself. And it's because you have to clean the things on the inside before you can have a picture perfect outside. And everything isn't going to be picture perfect. You're still going to have hard times. You're still going to have times where you struggle. We all struggle. You have to embrace those struggles. You have to embrace the things that you go through, the trials that you go through to become a better person, to continue to be on that path. There's times where we may lose loved ones. We may lose a job. We may not be in a place that we want to be in the moment, but you have to think big. It reminds me of a time when I was going to get my first vehicle on my own. I'm independent. I have this independent mindset. I really don't wait on other people. I really don't rely on other people. And I'm glad I'm that way because I'm going to go get what I want. That makes me more of a stronger person. But at the same time, it's cool to have help. It's cool to have advice. It's cool to be able to have people that you can go to. So, long story short, I went to go get my first vehicle at like 17 or 18, right? So, boom, I go to the dealership. At the time, my credit is probably shot. It's probably like at a 560, 580. The only thing that I've, did to improve my credit at all was go get a little short-term loan at the bank and paid it back. Made payments on it, paid it right back off, right? So I've done this, minimum thing to establish my credit, to see where my credit is at. So boom, I'm going to barber school. I know I need to go to barber school, so what do I need? I need a vehicle. So I go to the dealership and I'm like, okay, I don't go in with a mindset of what I want. I don't go in with a mindset of what I can see myself driving in. I don't go in with a vision. I don't go in with, with the purpose. The only purpose I had was to leave with something. I'm leaving with something. So I go to the dealership. I walk in the dealership. I'm like, I just need a car. I'm trying to get to point A to B, low key. So they start showing me brand new cars. At this point, I know I'm 17, 18. I don't really need a brand new car. I don't need a high note, anything like that, right? So with me thinking like that, which is nothing wrong thinking like that, that's being logical, that's being realistic, and that's the type of person I am. They're like, okay, cool. So we start going to look at used cars. Mind you, you have some good used cars and you have some used cars that are just lemons, right? So I'm looking at the used car and I go with one of the first ones that they showed me. And looking back, it wasn't necessarily the smartest decision because my standard was so low for myself. My standard was so low for what I needed. My standard was so low because I didn't have a vision or have a purpose in what I was doing, right? So the car that I get, it was like a Ford Fusion 2012 or 2014. Didn't really do research on it like I should have or as much as I should have. I test drove it, it was fine. So I'm like, okay, cool. I should be good to go. Boom, we get back, they do the paperwork and everything. In the midst of that, they ran my credit, which, looking back now, I understand I should have went a different way. I should have went to the bank first to let them approve me for a price, or approve me for a loan, and then take it to the dealership, right? So that's just a gem for somebody that may be in the process of trying to buy a vehicle. You go to the bank first, let them approve you for something. Let them tell you how much you can afford or whatever. Go with the number that you have in mind from the bank, and then go to the dealership. So you can have a purpose, you have a vision or a clear path of knowing what you can and can't afford, right? Now you don't have to let them run your credit, and it stays on your credit for multiple years, right? So, boom, back to the story. Long story short, I bought a vehicle. 2 days later, the vehicle isn't working. It's going in limp mode. Mind you, I have to drive 40 minutes to go to school, right? So at this point, it's like, they tried to do me wrong and tell me that they was going to also have to repo it instead of just let me, give them the car back. So, mind you, I'm cool with one of the dealership guys up there, and he did his thing to get me out of that situation, right? But it was also God on the other side. The first thing that I actually recognized was when I took that car back and I started listening to myself about how my standard was too low, how I shouldn't have made that decision. Other things started working out for me, you feel me? I got a better vehicle, a vehicle that, it wasn't brand new, but it was a vehicle that's been lasting me, and I still drive it to this day. It was a vehicle that fit me. It was a vehicle that got me to where I needed to go, and it's still doing the same thing. It was well taken care of, and it's still well taken care of. You would look at it and think it's not the year that it is because of the things that I put into it. So where am I getting it? You feel me? The vehicle that I have is not brand new, right? But at the same time, the more that I start to put things and invest in it, the newer it looked. The better it drove, the better it drives, and it still drives good. I have no issues with it. So what am I getting at? Look at your life like the vehicle. You may start in one area in life. You may start at one point in life. You may start at one circumstance in life. Or you may start in a certain environment in life. But at the same time, you don't have to stay at that standard. You don't have to stay at that environment. You have to upgrade your level of thinking. You have to upgrade your level of where you want to be in life. If we're looking at elevators and we're talking about elevators again, that's why I always talk about in my videos, life is like elevators in sense. There's a button on elevators, right? Some of us start at level 1, at the very bottom. Parents didn't really teach you anything. You saw trauma, you were exposed to certain things that you didn't have any control over. I'm not taking any of that from anybody. There's certain things that other people are exposed to that on the other side of life, nobody has ever been to something close to that degree, right? You may have lost loved ones. You may have watched people die. You may have certain things that you might not even speak about. You may have been taken advantage of. And these are things that happen in life to break you. Because what you recognize is as you go through these things, it still has a hold on you as you go throughout life. And you may never forget it. But the only way that you conquer that and get over that hump and get over that hill is if you change your mindset. If you tell yourself, I'm not going to let this situation or this circumstance continue to keep me bound to where I'm at. And as you develop this mindset, you start to recognize, okay, now that I feel this way, I got to do something about it, right? So you have to pull yourself away from the old you. You have to pull yourself away from the old mindset. You have to pull yourself away from the old habits and start thinking bigger. Start thinking better. It's got to be to a point to where you're like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And the only issue is with a lot of people that makes people look at you like you're different is the fact that you decided I'm not going to stay here. I'm not going to stay bound. Right? And you actually did something about it. You invested in yourself. You worked on yourself. You continue to work on yourself. You show up every day. Even days where you don't feel like it, you showing up. Right? So that doesn't make you better than anybody else. That just means you made a decision. And a lot of people struggle with making that decision. But I'm here to tell you, no matter where you're at in life, no matter what age, no matter what race, black, white, Mexican, Asian, anything else, you still can make that decision. You don't have to stay at level 1. Keep pushing buttons. And I understand as you continue to push buttons in life, you continue to elevate in life, you continue to go to the next level in life, you meet new devils. Sometimes I'm not talking about the devil with the horns. I'm talking about sometimes people, sometimes other people, sometimes environments. Sometimes you meet the devil in yourself. What I mean by that? Sometimes you're battling yourself. You're battling your habits. You're battling your mindset. You're battling the fact that you suck at being disciplined. You're battling the fact that you suck at being consistent. You're battling the fact that you have no integrity. But when you start to recognize these things, it's up to you to correct it. When you start to recognize these things, it's up to you to make a difference in your life. So you have to start thinking bigger. Because once you start thinking bigger, that's the only way that you start to recognize the things that you need to do on a daily basis to change your life. And it's not only about changing your life, but it's about being able to inspire others to do the same thing. Right? People can look at you and tell, like, okay, there's something different about them. And they don't recognize, you might have a light on you, you might have a glow about you, but they don't recognize it starts with the mindset. So once you start to do the things that you need to do to fix your mindset, to, regroup and reinvent yourself, it starts to show on the outside. And now you have people coming to you like, hey, how did you do this? Or why are you doing this? You feel me? What motivated you to do this? What made you make this decision? And now you can tell people your story. Now you can tell people like, this is where I started from. You feel me? And that's when you start to connect with people, because it's like, oh, dang. I started here too. So if he can do it, then I can do it. And on the other side of that, you have people that recognize like y'all started in the same place, and they'll take it negative and start hating on you, right? But you can't worry about that hate. You can't worry about the people that's envious. You can't worry about the people that's jealous. You can't worry about the people that looks at your life and still want to stay bound, right? Because that's a decision that they're making. We all have a decision that we have to make. So today I'm just telling you, make a decision to think bigger. Make a decision to not stay bound. Make a decision to make your life different. And not only your life, but an opportunity to make somebody else's life